In the dim glow of a street lamp, where shadows stretch long and the night air carries the chill of loneliness, there is a quiet yet powerful bond that forms between two unlikely companions. A golden retriever named Buddy, his fur as soft as the sunrise, sits loyally beside a man wrapped in layers of tattered clothing. His name is Jim, a homeless soul whose face tells stories of struggle, yet his eyes hold a glimmer of hope that never quite fades. Every night, without fail, Buddy appears from the darkness, walking through the streets as if guided by an invisible force. Buddy and Jim have shared a bond for months now, a bond built not on words but on understanding. Buddy, with his kind heart and gentle presence, watches over Jim while he sleeps on the cold concrete, his body curled for warmth. It is not just the protection Jim needs. He has grown to rely on Buddy's unspoken comfort. In the presence of this golden retriever, the harshness of the world seems to soften, if only for a little while. The bond between them is undeniable, but tonight, something feels different. Buddy is more alert, his golden eyes scanning the night for dangers Jim cannot see. There is an unsettling tension in the air. The city hums around them, indifferent to their struggles, but Buddy is focused. He knows something is coming, something neither he nor Jim could have ever prepared for. As the cold wind blows and the distant sound of sirens echoes, Buddy's instincts will soon put him to the ultimate test, one that will change both of their lives forever. Stay with us to find out what happens next, as a true hero emerges in the most unexpected of places. This is a story of loyalty, love, and an unbreakable bond that will touch your heart in ways you never imagined. The cold night air deepens, and the city's heartbeat quickens as sirens wail in the distance. Jim stirs in his sleep, his body curled into a protective ball against the unforgiving chill. Buddy lies next to him, his head resting on his paws, yet his sharp golden eyes remain wide open, scanning the street. There is a slight tremor in the dog's stance, a heightened awareness that something is amiss. Jim has grown accustomed to Buddy's vigilance, trusting that the dog will always protect him. But tonight, the sense of danger feels more immediate, more palpable. Suddenly, from around the corner, a group of rowdy teenagers appears. Their laughter echoes through the empty streets, but it is not the sound of joy. It is a hollow, cruel noise. They spot Jim, lying defenseless on the sidewalk, and a dark glint of mischief crosses their faces that Buddy's hackles rise. He instinctively steps in front of Jim, a low growl rumbling from his chest. The group slows their approach, eyeing Buddy with a mix of confusion and amusement. They are used to seeing dogs, but they are not used to one acting so protective, so fiercely loyal. Without warning, one of the teenagers kicks a nearby trash can, sending a loud clang into the air. Jim stirs, but only slightly, unaware of the danger creeping closer. Buddy's growl deepens, a warning, but it goes unnoticed. The group advances, pushing their way toward Jim, laughing as they go. The air grows tense. Buddy is their only barrier, and the dog knows it. In a split second, Buddy leaps forward, his body a blur of golden fur, his teeth bared in a protective snarl. The teenager closest to Jim recoils in surprise, stumbling back. Buddy's fierce growl sends them scattering, their bravado gone in an instant. But as they retreat, one of them, in a fit of frustration, pulls out a bottle, shattering it against the ground with a sharp crack. The sound echoes, and the sharp edge of glass catches the moonlight. Threatening to cut into Buddy, the tension in the air is suffocating as Buddy circles protectively around Jim, his every instinct now on full alert. The danger is real, and Buddy's heroism has just begun. The question now is, will this one act of courage be enough to keep Jim safe, or will it spark something more, something neither of them could have ever predicted? In the days following the incident with the teenagers, the bond between Buddy and Jim grows even stronger. But the street remains a harsh, unforgiving place, and as much as Buddy tries to protect Jim, the world around them does not relent. Buddy can sense Jim's growing fatigue, the constant worry in his eyes, the way he sometimes curls into himself as if trying to disappear from the world's cruelty. Jim is no longer just a man without a home. He is a man haunted by fear, by the possibility that one day, the danger may be too much for Buddy to handle alone each night. Jim finds himself watching Buddy more closely. The golden retriever's protective instincts have saved him more than once, but Jim begins to wonder if there will come a time when even Buddy can't shield him. He watches as Buddy's playful energy diminishes a little more each day, his body growing leaner and his movements more weary. Buddy, too, feels the weight of their existence. He used to bound joyfully through the streets, wagging his tail at passers-by, but now his eyes carry the burden of vigilance. The threat of danger is ever present. One evening, as a light rain begins to fall, the two find shelter under an old awning. Jim wraps his arms around his knees, staring out at the wet city street, his thoughts distant. Buddy lies beside him, head resting on his paws, but there is an unease in his posture. His ears twitch, his nose lifts slightly as he sniffs the air. Something is coming, but Jim does not notice. He is too lost in his own spiral of thoughts, feeling as if the world is slowly slipping away from him. Suddenly, a figure appears at the end of the street, cloaked in the darkness of the rainy night. Buddy stiffens immediately, a low growl beginning deep in his chest. The figure is moving toward them with purpose, and Buddy's instincts flare. The figure's footsteps echo louder with every passing second, the rain masking any other sounds. Jim looks up, but before he can fully comprehend the threat, Buddy is already on his feet, tail stiff and ears erect. The figure nears, and Jim can make out the outline of a man, his expression obscured by the shadows. Jim's heart races. Is this another danger? Another threat to their fragile existence? The figure stops just a few feet away, and for a moment, everything is still, like a breath held in time. But then, without warning, the man pulls out a large, crumpled bag, holding it out to Jim. The scent of food fills the air, a small act of kindness from a stranger. The gesture is simple, but it is enough to break the dam of tension. Jim stares at the bag for a long moment, his mind caught in disbelief. No one has offered him anything without expecting something in return for years. But as Buddy sits by his side, still tense but watching Jim with steady, trusting eyes, Jim reaches for the food. It's not just sustenance. It's hope. It's a reminder that kindness still exists, even in the darkest corners of the world. But just as Jim reaches out, a car screeches to a halt nearby, its headlights blinding in the misty rain. Buddy reacts immediately, his protective instincts flaring again. As Jim fumbles to take the bag from the stranger, the night is once more filled with uncertainty. Tension thickens as both man and dog brace for whatever comes next. Buddy's instincts are always on edge, always trying to protect Jim from the world around them. But Jim can see it now. The weight of those instincts is starting to take a toll. Buddy, his constant protector, is growing weary, and it's clear. Neither of them can keep up this fight forever. The road ahead will only get harder. The question is, will they find the strength to keep going, or will the weight of their struggles finally break them apart? The rain continues to fall, cold and steady, as the two companions sit together, each aware that the world is closing in, but neither ready to give up. The rain pours down harder now, a relentless torrent that batters the street with a steady rhythm. Jim and Buddy remain under the awning, their bodies shivering from the cold and the damp. But it is not just the weather that weighs heavily on them. It is the growing sense of impending danger. For days, the streets have felt more hostile, more unforgiving. The comfort of their routine, finding shelter, sharing quiet moments, and the protection Buddy has always provided, seems to be slipping away, like sand through their fingers. Just as Jim begins to settle into the cold, hard reality of their life, the air shifts. A new presence arrives, and Buddy, as always, reacts first. His body tenses, his muscles coiling with an intensity Jim knows all too well. The moment the first shadow of a figure appears, Buddy stands tall, ears back, a low growl reverberating from his chest. Jim follows his gaze, squinting into the stormy night. The figure is unmistakable. A group of men, their footsteps heavy and determined. They walk toward Jim and Buddy, their faces set with purpose, their intentions unclear. Jim feels a cold knot of fear tighten in his stomach. He has seen these kinds of faces before. The ones that don't look twice at a man like him. The ones who would see Buddy as nothing more than a nuisance. This time, it's different. There is no sign of kindness, no glimmer of humanity in their eyes. Buddy growls louder, his body quivering with a protective fierceness Jim has never seen before. The tension is unbearable. Every step the men take bringing them closer to a breaking point. The wind howls, and in that split second, Jim sees Buddy's eyes. The golden retriever's gaze is filled not just with protection, but with something deeper, something more intense. Buddy has been guarding him. Yes, but now, he is willing to fight for him. To face whatever darkness is approaching. With a burst of strength, Buddy charges, his powerful legs driving him forward as he lunges at the first man. The impact is swift, and for a moment, it feels like the world stops. Buddy's body is a force of nature, fueled by loyalty and an unshakable bond with Jim. The man stumbles back, shock in his eyes, as Buddy's growl fills the night. The men hesitate, momentarily stunned by Buddy's courage, but their eyes narrow. They approach again, this time with malicious intent, ignoring the dog's warning. The air crackles with tension as the situation escalates, each second more dangerous than the last. Jim's heart races. His protector, his only friend, is in danger, and there is nothing he can do. The fear rises in his chest, constricting his lungs, just as one of the men reaches for a heavy object. Buddy springs again, this time with a force that pushes the man to the ground. Buddy's teeth graze the man's sleeve, but it is enough to send a message. This is not a fight Buddy will lose. He will protect Jim at all costs. In that moment, the men back off, their bravado crumbling in the face of Buddy's unyielding loyalty. They look at each other uncertain and retreat into the night, leaving Jim and Buddy standing in the rain, tired, soaked, and breathing heavily. But the real battle has only just begun. As the men disappear into the shadows, Buddy staggers slightly, his breath coming in sharp, ragged gasps. The weight of the confrontation has taken its toll. Jim reaches down, his fingers trembling, and touches Buddy's side. The golden retriever's body is warm, but there is a heaviness in his steps that Jim cannot ignore. Buddy has given everything to protect him. And now, Jim is faced with the truth. He cannot let Buddy carry the weight of the world alone anymore. The bond between them, once built on shared survival, has transformed into something greater, something that transcends protection. Jim realizes in that moment that it is not just Buddy who needs him, but that they both need each other. The storm continues to rage around them, but amidst the chaos, there is a quiet understanding that they are no longer alone. They are a team, and together, they will face whatever comes next. The rain has slowed to a light drizzle now, but the night remains thick with the remnants of the storm. The streets are quieter, as if the city itself is holding its breath after the chaos. Jim and Buddy stand together, soaked but alive. Jim's fingers still tremble as he brushes his hand through Buddy's fur, checking for injuries, though he already knows the dog has borne the brunt of the attack. Buddy's breath is steady, but his body is visibly tired. His eyes dim with exhaustion, Jim kneels beside him, feeling the weight of everything that has happened. He looks at Buddy, this brave, loyal dog who has given everything for him, who has never once wavered in his duty to protect. The golden retriever's loyalty, his courage, his unwavering devotion. Jim realizes now that all of it has transformed him. No longer just a man lost in the streets, Jim sees a reflection of his own resilience in Buddy. The journey they have shared, the night spent under bridges, the moments of kindness from strangers, the fear of constant danger, has brought them closer than ever. And in that closeness, Jim finds a spark of hope, a quiet but undeniable strength. He is no longer just a survivor. He is a protector, just as Buddy has been for him. The weight of the world no longer seems so heavy. Not when he realizes he does not have to bear it alone. Buddy looks up at him then, eyes meeting his with a depth of understanding that transcends words. It is a silent promise between them, a promise that, no matter what happens, they will continue to fight for each other. Jim feels a lump rise in his throat as he gently pats Buddy's head. The tears he's held back finally spilling over. "You've done enough, boy," Jim whispers, his voice raw with emotion. "Now it's my turn to protect you." The air is still and heavy with the aftershocks of their struggle, but in that stillness, Jim and Buddy share a moment of peace. The violence of the night has passed, but the bond they share remains stronger than ever. Jim knows now that the road ahead will not be easy, but with Buddy by his side, he has the strength to face whatever comes, and so, the two of them walk forward together into the soft glow of the streetlights, their footsteps steady, each step a quiet reflection of how far they have come and how far they are yet to go. The future is uncertain, but the hope between them is unwavering. The world may be harsh, but it is also full of second chances. And in that hope, there is a future where Jim and Buddy will continue to protect one another, no matter the storm. As the days pass, the world begins to feel lighter. Jim and Buddy have found a small shelter, a safe place where they can rest, recover, and begin to rebuild their lives. The city is still cold and unforgiving, but it no longer feels quite as bleak. The shelter has become their sanctuary, and each new day is filled with a quiet gratitude. Jim, who once felt completely alone, now finds solace in the familiar warmth of Buddy's presence. In the mornings, they take walks together through the nearby park, the sun peeking through the trees, casting long shadows on the grass. People pass by, some offering a smile, others simply nodding in recognition. Jim notices the change, the softening of hearts, the shift in how people see them. It's not the perfect life, but it's a life full of possibility. And for the first time in a long while, Jim believes in the possibility of something better. One afternoon, a kind woman from the shelter approaches them. She tells Jim that there is a family interested in adopting Buddy, a couple who have been looking for a dog just like him, gentle, loyal, and full of heart. Jim is torn. Buddy has been his protector, his only companion for so long. But as he watches Buddy's wagging tail, and the joy in his eyes, he knows this is the right thing. Buddy deserves a family of his own, one that can give him the love and care he has always given Jim. With a final, lingering look, Jim watches Buddy walk toward his new family. It's bittersweet, but Jim understands. They both have found their place in the world. And now, Jim can move forward too, knowing that Buddy will always be a part of him. A reminder of what love and loyalty can do for the soul. Together, they have made it through. And now, it is time for others to experience that same transformation. Jim smiles, his heart full, as he stands tall for the first time in a long while. If this heartwarming story touched your heart, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words can make a real difference, showing the power of compassion and the impact animals have on our lives. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our community for more inspiring stories of love, loyalty, and resilience. Your support matters. Whether you choose to share this video, donate to an animal-related cause, or simply spread kindness, your involvement can change lives. Together, we can give animals like Buddy the second chance they deserve. Let us know how you've been inspired.